parent involvement piece. I totally believe in bridging the gap between school and home. Creating a world where school and home are one. I found that through the years, like I've done inquiry previously, and a lot of times when I've done my inquiry, I've done it based on behavior in the classroom. How can we get the behavior in the classroom to be a behavior that's basically acceptable for the classroom? And here it says students are encouraged and motivated. And so my first year when I did my inquiry, that's what I did it on. Okay, so if I continue to give them this motivation, continue to give them this encouragement before we took assessments, and it was all based on the outcome of the assessment. When they took the assessment, how would it change it? How would it increase it? Would it have an impact on it? Parents are contacting on positive, academic, and behavior. And so the second year, no matter what, I just kind of kept in contact with the parents for the smallest thing, for the biggest thing, for just anything. I bridged that gap where just like almost every week I'm having a conversation with my parents, especially with my parents and my students that had the most influential behavior in my classroom. And this year I had to go in with a different approach because I'm in a different environment this year, and behavior wasn't necessarily, it honestly wasn't a concern. And I've been in this teaching for like 10 years now, and it's the first time in 10 years where I don't have to worry about behavior. And I honestly, it was just like, oh wow, yeah, and it was because last year I left with the mindset, I told my husband, I was like, you know what, I'm going to become a physician assistant, something different. I really was looking into doing something different, and I honestly had the opportunity to teach this year. And one of the other things that they always say is, the data, look at the data, gear your instruction toward the data. And so it's just like, oh, so even though I was in a new environment because I came from a Title I school too, we're not a Title I school, even though they don't data us as much as they did when we were in a Title I school, it kind of stuck with me. It absolutely, it stuck. It's so much that has stuck, and I can look at this lady for that, but it's so much that has stuck. And so it stuck so much that it was like, well, I changed my focus, and it's like, okay, well, let's look at the academics of it, but I still want to bridge that gap between school and home. Common Core comes out, you look on Facebook and you see parents on Facebook, and I see teachers that I know are teachers on Facebook, and they're like, oh, my kid came home with this math and I have no clue if they would just do the problem and stop asking them how to solve it and what to do with it. And parents were flipping out. Like I said, they were professional, they're us, and they're flipping out over what's happening. And I said, well, just imagine those parents that should know, because they're teaching it every day, if this is what they're doing, how much more our parents are. Performance Matter was actually one of the greatest things that I've ever come across. I began to play with it. I love it. I do. I began to play with it, and again, it's just like, I don't gear anything. Everything is geared towards, what does my data say? Well, let me look at it, and I'm analyzing it, driving me nuts because I'm analyzing it as much as I am, but in the same aspect, it's like I'm super duper excited. Performance Matter gives this breakdown, and I'll pass it around so that you can see it. It's really tiny, but it was like a 21-page document, but it did it over our science common assessment, our math common assessment, and our ELA assessments. And so what it does is it gives a breakdown between the question, what the question was asking, what the common core or what the common core standard is being tested, but then down here it explains what's being tested and the percentage as to what they understood. And so I took this information and this is the information that I actually shared with my parents. I had my parents come in, and I had my parents come in, and we had what we call a data chat. And I gave these to the parents. I also gave them their PMP, whether their student needed a PMP or if their student didn't need a PMP. And I broke it down, and I absolutely explained to them what it was. Parents need to understand, and so that's why the next level was basically teaching the parents what we're teaching their students, having the parents to understand. The other thing at first, when they first said, oh, we're going to roll out a pre-test for that ELA module C, at first it was like, oh my gosh, not another test, literally. But then it was like, oh my gosh, that's perfect, because we had the pre-test. I had my data chat with my parents. I had about 8 parents to show up, which was really wonderful. They came in, I gave them this. They were like, oh my gosh, it's overwhelming. I'm like, it is overwhelming, so let's make it simple. Let's look at their pre-test. I said, let's look at their pre-test, let's focus on their and what we'll do is we'll take their pre-test and we'll see what happens on the post-test, because it's going to be the same exact test. These are the areas that we're going to focus on. And so if you look on their paper here, you'll see at the bottom where it gives the Common Core standard and it gives the colors. The darker colors are red, meaning that they are severely below level, right? And so I told the parents, I said, you know what, this is what I want you to focus on. This is the standard that I want you to focus on. I want you to focus on the standards that are red. I said, and if the standard is yellow and it says it's like 50% or below, but it's yellow, those are the ones that I want you to focus on. I said, granted, we'll hit it in class as well, but this is what I need you to do at home. My parents looked at me and they were just like, okay, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. I always say use the Dollar Tree. I love the Dollar Tree, but it has so much information in there. Go to the Dollar Tree, go to the stores, pick up the booklets. They need to read, they need to be on ST Nav. We came up with I put it more so on the parents as to, I gave them ideas, but I wanted them to implement the ideas. What we had. So at the Dollar Tree, they have those workbooks, especially for reading, because that's what we're focusing on. And they have those little reading books where it has a story and then it's aligned to the Common Core standards. And they have a story, they read the story, and then it has questions in it. But then it also has in the back of it is where they have the answers. So I told the parents, make sure you snatch those out so your child doesn't have the answers, but just in case you don't understand it, you have the answers and it's okay. So and so it was this one that I just folded back, my pre-test and my post-test. And as a class, when we first took the pre-test, they had a percentage of 65% as a class. So that said about 65% of the students understood what was happening in the class. And I'm sorry, that's not 65. I folded it. Give me 1 second. No, I'm correct. It was 65% of them basically understood what was happening in the class. By the time we took the post-test, that number came up to 73%. Which meant we went from being in the yellow to now we're in the green. So I looked at the parents, I looked at the students. When I looked at the data, I looked at the students of the parents that attended. And I can say that of the parents that attended, 100% of them increased in their score from the pre-test to the post-test. And so it also was an eye-opener. Some of our parents they were excited about it, they were happy about it, but then it also was a reality check, because when they actually can see in black and white, why is my kid in the red? That's what I'm trying to tell you. This is what I'm trying to show you, but I'm trying to tell you, but I'm telling you, it wasn't getting it, but now that you see that red, what are we doing? And it's like, okay, I know I had one student in the school, his mom was like, well, I've been working, and so I thought he was doing work, and I thought this, and I thought that, and I can honestly say by the next day when he came in class, whereas before, maybe he had his homework, maybe he didn't have his work, it definitely bridges that gap, and it gives those parents the understanding that this is what's happening, regardless of what you think, this is what's happening, and how they had an opportunity to see it, and they had an opportunity to understand, like, what their children were not understanding. So like it says, does parents plus the data equal success? Yes, it absolutely does. Helping your parents to understand what their students are learning. Because it is like, oh, they're having my friends, this is their PMP, sign here, this is what this means. But it's not just my parents that understand, my students understand. At least if you come in here and you ask them, so what is your requirement on your company assessment? Oh, I need to get a 7. I need to get a 70%. How do you do that? I need to get 35 questions correct out of the 50. Some of them, do you have a higher goal? Yes, my goal is different than everybody else's. What should your running record look like? I absolutely love it. I love it. This is like, for me, the ground basis of what has been started. Are there things that I'm going to change next year? Yes, there are so many things that's going to be changed next year. Have more specific as to what I give the parents for them to work on, and then I also get them started early in the year. But am I super duper excited about it? I can't wait till next year. Yes, yes, I will. And there's also already a second part that I'm already adding on to it for my inquiry for next year. So it's just kind of getting the parents to fourth grade. Yeah, the second part is
She's like,
college tree or whatever, where you have parents and they're responsible. And so it's kind of like a homework tree or data tree, whatever it is. But like they're gonna have requirements once a month that we all come in and we meet together. But it's also email and text. So yeah, it's already the inquiry for next year is already in the works to just kind of improve this and just continue to grow.
Increase your frequency of data chats with me.
Yes.
Because we have data chats with across the grade level teams, and I love that. Yeah, the data chats with
So when you have your parent conferences, is it just a certain data parent conferences, or is it a certain time that you
So, and again, it started in the middle because this really didn't kick off until the pre-test. And so I have had conferences sessions, so the conferences look a little different for my parents that understand. I have their students to explain to them what's happening and what it looks like, and I allow the parents to look at it as well. So again, that is another part that when it happens, when it's next year, when next year comes, it's gonna look a lot different. Yeah, it's gonna look a lot different. But I am. I wish I had the same class next year. Not that I wanted to fail, but if I had the same class next year, because I would love to see the growth that this class will have. Yeah.
And I think the pre-test and the post-test were within a couple of months. So the growth, even though it doesn't look like it's that's a big.
Yeah.
So we're only talking about, I don't know if the plan is next year. Right. The plan is next year to have the pre-test at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
A little later, and then do like little assessments in between. But that's a lot of growth for that short period.
And then also looking at like during the classroom time frame and what we do in class, getting them geared because that's what we're looking at. We're looking at the post-test, we're looking at the pre-test. So developing the classroom so that it's more geared towards having that pre-test and post-test so that it's not like, oh, aha, this is what we're doing. No, this is exactly what your pre-test looks like. Your post-test looks exactly the same way. There's no confusion. We've done this under the tree. So.
We're glad you stayed.
Right?
Yeah. Now, when you have the meetings with parents, this is like just shows class. Did they also get like a?
This is this whole packet is on one. Yeah.
Okay, so this is one student.
That's one student.
Okay.
Yep. Yes, I do.
I love it because I think so often what happens is we don't
Oh, it is, Jordan.
take the time to explain to parents what this is an indication where we can go with. Even with kids. I have a big issue with data being private and kids look at it and they don't know what does this mean. So this is actually, this fits into indicator 3.1, I believe it does. It talks about informing parents on the instructional program of your school. And it's something that I see, because we created the agenda bar truly, and the instruction, there are three parts of this indicator. Are we truly explaining the instructional program? What it means is we are so easy to say, yes, I am. But you could truly say, I'm using data. And even though when your parents are getting data, to give you feedback as to whether this helps them grow as parents.
And surveys, and creating videos, and having those testimonials with parents. Yeah, there's so many more. Yeah.
I'll be taking that. You'll hear about it.
I'll vouch for it. I was there. It works. Oh, look at how fast this is. Check this out. Check this out. I need to.
Oh, a star.
Can I take this back? Does anybody else have?